Take three. I'm trying to talk about positivity, but the way I'm in a mood today, the feeling that I have, I'm really not into physical contact of any sort. And the cats keep jumping on my lap, specifically one. And I'm getting really tired of it. So, take three. In my locality, there is a radio station that plays Christmas music following Thanksgiving Day. I know that on Facebook and certain internet websites, they talk about the potential depressive or negative effects of Christmas music. I believe that these are biased studies. They are not correct. My own experience has been quite the opposite. I believe that if you have negative memories of Christmas music, probably has to do with a negative memory that is somehow associated with Christmas. But it has nothing to do with the music. If you analyze it, there are certain motifs and things about Christmas music, certain things that are just, if you want to write a Christmas song, you include some of these type of key changes or whatever, and it becomes a Christmas song. Michael Jackson's mid-'80s music, most of his most successful era with Quincy Jones, has a very Christmas music feel to it, actually. As a musician listening to it, I can hear it. So anyways, I've found that that type of music, whatever it is that contains those particular cues or whatever, those musical themes or motifs or traits, are really good for positive manifestation. It's good for keeping your aura clear for others, because when you interact with someone and there's something dark going on underneath, people can tell. Likewise, when I delivered pizza, if I came up listening to Slipknot or Emperor or anything heavy or crazy, my tips were not as good, even if they couldn't hear the music. If you got something angry and violent going on in the music in the background, you're just like, yeah, I'm fucking... You get up to that pizza delivery and you still got going in your head while you're trying to talk to these folks about their food and hope that they give you some extra money. So I found that Christmas music was actually the best for that. You could listen to it. You could keep it on a low volume. One year I started just shortly after Halloween. It was that bad of a year. But I got through. The bills were paid. People were very generous. And especially during the Christmas season. And then they can hear the music, and then they know that you're just jamming out to Christmas songs and driving. People usually think that's kind of cute, and they might help you out. Christmas season's pretty generous time for folks anyway, which is cool. Although, to be fair, when they say that you should try and keep the Christmas spirit year-round, I agree. I don't know that that necessarily means listening to those songs all year, but definitely the generosity and sense of family or whatever that, everyone's just kind of like, oh, it's Christmas time, let's, help people out. Whatever. If people were like that all year round, things would be a lot better. I try and be that way. I exercise manifest generosity, and most of the time do what I can to try and keep people in a good mood and spread cheer, keep in the spirit, even if it's fucking July. But as we also know, nobody likes me because I'm too weird. So me trying to be cheerful and positive and non-Christmas time is apparently too much for some folks. So anyways, what this brings me to is wondering about how long it's been since a Christmas song was composed, knowing that a lot of them are centuries old, so very, very ancient music. This comes out of the mists of time, a little window into the past to how people used to feel, which I think is kind of cool. I'm interested in that a little bit. But the other thing is that it kind of gives the impression of some of the false nature of history, too, is that you get these songs and these ideas, and they're pretty obviously part of the propaganda of the culture. And, it's an interesting window nonetheless. So the thing is that most of the more recent, I guess that All I Want for Christmas Is You or whatever from Mariah Carey, and some remakes by Mannheim Steamroller are classics, but those aren't exactly, new songs. You are going to try and do it. I'm already on take 3. No. This comes to the current thing. Christmas songs from the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. If you've seen the movie A Christmas Story or read the novel by Gene Shepard, then there are all these references to Christmas growing up in the Depression and just after. People love watching their movies about the 50s. It's a Wonderful Life and all that. The black and white. The Donna Reed, the Andy Griffith, the Dick Van Dyke. You know, there's a certain clean-cut thing about it. I notice the hairstyles people are getting right now are kind of hearkening back to that. And it's like, okay, the 50s was a really bad time. Everyone was being lied to. Wars were being manufactured. Nothing really any different than today other than they didn't have the internet to control people. So, you get to some of these Christmas songs, and they're really not... Some of them are, you know, I mean, think like, you know, the Burl Ives and whatnot, that era. You know, Happy Holidays, that's a holiday song because it says Happy Holidays, right? White Christmas, yeah, you know, Blue Christmas, yeah, it's about Christmas, okay. So here's a song that we associate with Christmas that isn't actually about Christmas. It's just about the winter. It's not a holiday song. It's just telling you, baby, it's cold outside. Right? So this radio station plays their Christmas songs, and I listen to the radio station play their Christmas songs. And this song comes on, and like I said, for years now, it's been 10 years since I discovered that trick with listen to Mannheim Steamroller, Carol of the Bells before every delivery. It's really dumb to put it on repeat and just listen to the one song, but I'm listening to that motherfucker on the way to every house. And guess what, though? Everybody tipped me between $5 and $10 when I did that. Everybody. There were no stiffs. It's magic. Well, not really, but it's manifestation. So, this other song, though, gets played a lot. There's many different versions. It's nice harmonies to it. The melody's very nice. I like everything about the song except the lyrical content. And I know people are talking about this, and all I'm throwing my thing into is, on my 2 cents on this matter, is that for the last 5+ years that I've been hearing that song on the radio, I have been like, oh, wait a minute. He's just getting her drunk and making excuses for her to stay the night. And she's saying, no, I can't do that. No, I don't want. And he said, oh, come on, baby, come on. And now it's become like the polarizer, because you got people that, in my opinion at least, rightfully notice that this is a song that is effectively normalizing violation of consent with alcohol, aka date rape. Like I said, it's not even about Christmas, it's just about it's cold outside. It's got the musical hallmarks of a Christmas song, that light jazz sound and whatever, the things we've come to associate. But the guy is trying to talk the girl into staying the night. That's it. And if you listen to what she's talking about, her brothers and her mother and her father, so she lives at home and is probably not 18. So, I mean, I understand and I fully appreciate the tradition aspect and people not wanting to let go of these beloved, cherished memories. And I remember that blah, 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 being a kid and hearing that song. And yeah, dude, totally. But that song is about that. That's what that song is about. And I'm not saying like ban it or whatever. Just know that. Baby, it's cold outside. Yeah, seriously, have another cigarette. Let's have another shot and just chit-chat. And come on, just keep drinking with me here and you'll be fine to stay. Something else that has not been okay since the 1950s, aside from date rape and, hanging black people, is beating your wife just as long as you don't leave a bruise. Suppressing all of your emotions and just burying that shit, making you bitter and stoic and eventually hitting your wife, but trying not to leave a bruise. Baby, it's cold outside. So, I mean, like I said, I understand people that don't like the idea of giving up a tradition or whatever, but come on, man, that shit's fucking destructive. That's harmful. It doesn't do direct harm, but it harms people with mentality of the normalization of date rape. And if you're more interested in preserving your warm, fuzzy feels than dealing with the fact that a cultural meme normalizes rape, if that's how you're being, you are not being a logical person. You are putting the feels before the facts. The fact is, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. And one of the best methods to attain that is to go by the do no harm. Do no harm mentality. So accepting that thou do no harm, the rule of the law shall be do what thou wilt. Accepting that thou do no harm. So this is all logic. This is very basic. This is a big picture, full group, select all mentality of the needs of the many. So your individual needs of wanting to hear this song about rape and feel good about your childhood of Christmas or whatever. I don't know, man. Listen to fucking Jingle Bells. Listen to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the song about the fucking special different one that managed to help everybody out with the gift. There's a good one. Listen to Frosty the fucking Snowman, a song about the transience of life, about how short it is. You know, listen to songs, Deck the Halls, we're going to decorate and have a Christmas party, you know? Or even better, you could recognize what the actual holiday is about and not inject religion into it, although people do that shit all the time, but, you know, it's intertwined now. But just remember that Jesus was born in September. The three magi were magicians, not kings. I don't think the Herod story quite lines up either. I don't think Herod was actually a king for long enough to have heard of... Herod would have been 10 years older than Jesus, so when Jesus was born, Herod would have been like 10. So, not a king. Like, the story don't line up anyway, right? But so the thing is that there's, you know, holly and ivy are pagan, and mistletoe, and the tree, and pretty much all of the wintertime celebration. And the reason for this is because, number one, if Jesus was really born, he was not born in the winter, he was born in, like, September. That's why Michaelmas happens when it does. That's actually right about Jesus' actual birthday. The second thing being that the pagan celebrations have to do with togetherness and enduring the winter unscathed. That's why most of the songs have the warm, fuzzy feeling. That's why we enjoy the evergreen tree being lit up. That is why we think of the white Christmas and the snow and the Yule log, burning a fire and staying warm. Baby, it's cold outside. That's why that stays in with the holiday, because the real reason for the season is winter, the season, and it can be really cold. And people, being social animals, get seasonally affected. They become depressed, and so the best way to avoid this is to sing cheery songs together, even if you're antisocial, right? So, what I'm getting at is that's Christmas music in a nutshell. And so, you know, you've got stuff that is to help endure the bitter cold and the extra darkness and the fact that it's hard to drive and it's cold and, you know, it... So in that respect, I see where that's a warm sounding song and it kind of, you know, but that's one of those things where if you didn't listen to all the lyrics, like as a unit, you might think it's some sweet romantic song. But the truth of the matter is that the guy is getting the girl drunk and insisting that she stay. And she's like, yeah, my parents are going to know. They're going to see my hair. Well, Jesus Christ, man, what the fuck does that mean? JBF hair. Come on, just been fucked hair. That's what the song's about. So, you know, throw a fit about tradition or whatever. Pretend like fucking Jesus has anything to do with Yule. And then continue to be cognitively dissonant and utterly confused about the historical nature of the Roman Empire, the areas that they held, and the way that things worked during the time. completely ignore all that shit. You know, I was talking about the 1950s with the TV and the, maybe that was a previous take that I was talking, and I can't remember. The fact that the 50s basically started, they started with radio, using these radio dramas to help manipulate people's minds, to soften their critical thinking. And then television comes along, and, you know, for one thing, you're watching in black and white when they had color technology at the time, but we're watching in black and white, which gives you a natural black and white mentality. And if you think about the 1950s, at least as far as I know when I do, if I think back about, you know, what I've learned about the 50s or what my parents have told me about it or anything else, and I see the shit in black and white. Isn't that crazy? It's not because it was actually black and white back then, but because that's the way people's minds worked with it. So also logically, if you're going to access any Akashic memory or anything else to do with genetic memory to speak with your ancestors and they were alive during that time, their thoughts on the matter are probably going to be in black and white too, because the shit was in black and white. Not reality, but the TV was, and the people mix the TV with the reality, remember. Then they're being controlled. Look what happened. All those people growing up in the 50s, those baby boomers, those are the ones that are believing in QAnon and flat earth. Those are the ones that are alive to have seen Vietnam happen. Surely they must have at some point realized that the protests people were having were not really to do with the war, and they had nothing to do with why there was a war. Nobody knew why there was a war. We got to stop communism. No. This was French colonialism asking an ally to help them take back a colony that had revolted. That was Vietnam. The North Vietnamese, the bad guys that we were fighting, were actually the resistance army driving out the oppressors. I'm not saying I'm in favor of communism. I'm saying that that is a fact. The North were the freedom fighters. We were the invaders. So people protested, but they didn't even know why they were protesting. Well, gee, that sounds just like today, too. It looks like nothing's really changed, even with the advent of the internet. And so anyways, yeah, we got the culture that moved up through the 60s. The people were raised in the 50s. They were all hopelessly indoctrinated, brainwashed. They've been demoralized. They've been co-opted, and there is no repairing any of that. Consequently, a lot of them seem to live their life like they're watching a TV show. Gee, I wonder why. They get online and they get into groupthink circles on chat forums and Facebook, and they call this doing research. But they're not actually doing research. And then we get things like this: George H.W. Bush dies, and the Q people are like, oh, what a coincidence. There's no such thing as coincidences. December 5th. Yeah, but what about November 11th, motherfucker? Nothing ever happened. Softened critical thinking, inaccurate and oversimplified worldview, kind of a spectator nature because it's all being played about in front of them. I mean, that's obviously controlled opposition. That's obviously people just being, you know, keeping the herd in line, for lack of a better term, the chattel. So, anyways, this video is getting way longer than I meant it to be, but I've not had to been interrupted to do a fourth take. But, yeah, so to recap, baby boomers may be a lost cause for the most part. Most of them are not emotionally mature enough at this point. They've since being brainwashed, reverted to a more childlike way. And it might on the surface seem cool to be more childlike when you're an adult, but when that means that you literally can no longer understand your own responsibilities or the things you would tell your kids, like, no, man, that's some bullshit. Here's how you tell what's real. And they can't even do that for themselves now. December 5th, we're probably going to find out that the Q people are as hopelessly indoctrinated as the Flat Earth people. That they are basically one and the same group of mentally stunted, brainwashed victims. So that's the first item. The second item to recap is that Baby It's Cold Outside is definitely about date rape. And nothing at all about Christmas in the song. Just a musical theme that sounds like Christmas songs. And snuck in there like a Trojan fucking horse. Except that the song is about getting her drunk so she can't drive home. That's your excuse to keep her over. from an era when men would take women. They would hit them, as long as they don't leave a bruise. And rape was much, much more common and normalized at the time. So a song from an era when rape was a thing is now no longer relevant. Yeah, cool, because rape's not a good thing. And it's not as underlying subliminally. People are like, well, yeah, rape's bad, but, you get the chance, maybe, that was the 50s. That was the 1950s and even the 60s. The free love generation was all these people that were basically waiting to be rapists were allowed to get it on with hippies or whatever, so it would seem. Or maybe that is an oversimplified and unrealistic worldview of history. So, anyways, yeah, I don't think they should ban the song, but I think people should consider what it means, and they should not argue and fight against it just because their emotional reaction is that this is a traditional Christmas song that brings joy and goodwill. The song is about date rape. And it's funny because the people that'll throw the biggest fit about that song being cut from radio stations are the conservative types. They want to keep things with their old-timiness and whatever else. Except that those are the ones that are trying to say that the leftists, the Democrat liberal types, are the ones putting their feels before their facts. But then, watch the conservatives put the feels before their facts when it comes to a fucking Christmas song. So, let's see. Baby boomers, date rape Christmas song. Oh yeah, the purpose of Yule is to get through the wintertime intact and keep your sanity. Is there anything else? I don't think so. The world's a wacky place. Oh yeah, the manifestation thing. That's part of the recap too. So don't forget we had that. So I'm not even done recording yet, and you think you're gonna jump on my lap? Look at this fucking cat. So anyways, this is me signing off.